All right, so we've talked about emotional self-regulation, and we have also talked about self-conscious emotions and self-awareness, and how children understand emotions of others and of themselves. We'll also talk about some differences in behavioral, differences in behaviors of young children. We could see that children also display a huge diversity in their behaviors. Some children appear to be very friendly, cool, and calm in their reactivity, in the way they react to a situation. Some children would appear to be very aggressive and very irritable, or very stubborn in a given situation, in a stimulating situation, so to say. So we could see that in young children also we can see temperamental differences. Temperament is basically is a stable component of one's behavior, and we can define temperament in two components. One is reactivity. Reactivity is explained as quickness and intensity of emotional arousal, how we attend to the stimuli, and followed by the physiological reactivity or physiological arousal. Also, the other component of temperament includes one's self-management style, or how we regulate our negative emotions, or how are we likely to inhibit those negative impulses. So each individual has their own way, or has their own level of reactivity, and they have also have acquired ways of regulating, managing those emotional intensities. There was one study done by Thomas and Chess. It was a longitudinal research done on 141 kids from early infancy till their childhood. And through this research, they identified children based on their temperamental consistencies or behavioral consistency. These children were identified into four groups. One group was termed as easy children or easy child. These children were identified on the basis of these behaviors. These children showed regular routines and were usually cheerful. They adapt to new experiences easily. Then there was another group of children which were classified as difficult child, and these children had shown irregular daily routines, and they were more reluctant to accept new experiences, and they usually react negatively and intensely to situations, stimulating situations, emotionally stimulating situations. Slow to warm up children were another group of children who were identified based on these behaviors. They were usually inactive, they showed low key reactions to environmental stimuli, had negative moods, and usually they were also very slow to adjust to new experiences. Lastly, there was a group which was termed as unclassified based on irregular patterns of the behavior. They were not able to classify these children in any of the other groups, or were not able to come up with a consolidated term. So these were identified as unclassified children. It was also seen that children who were classified into difficult children group were at higher risk of adjustment problems in their early and middle childhood. And slow to warm up children usually didn't have much problem till their middle childhood. But when they show fearfulness and you know fearfulness, they usually had reluctant and constricted behavior. So basically, the purpose of the study was to identify different temperamental consistencies in children, and how these consistencies can lead into a more negative outcome. As we could see, there's one component within temperament, which is self-regulation, and we have talked about self-regulation in the previous video lecture. We have come to understand that self-regulation could be taught to children, and we can see and identify if children are displaying some negative temperamental consistencies. These children must be taught effective strategies to deal with their reactivity, to deal with their intensified emotional expression or experience. So uh, through this breakthrough study, it was also suggested to follow a model of, child rearing practice, which was called goodness of fit. Goodness of fit model basically is a way to combine, identify first of all the temperament of a child, and to adjust one's parenting style according to that temperament, parenting or teaching style according to that temperament. If a child is of a more aggressive temperament, that child should be dealt with more, with more calm and cool and patient style of parenting, rather than being more, controlling and demanding of the child. So using effective child rearing style with the kind of temperament the child displays can lead into better outcomes. That means that the child can be benefited through those teaching strategies, and can minimize on his negative reactivity. ठीक है? So again, ये research हमें ये बताती है कि बच्चों की temperamental consistency एक biological innate reaction है, लेकिन उसको हम अगर एक बच्चे में एक नेगेटिव इम्पल्सेस को कंट्रोल करने की स्ट्रैटेजीज इतनी अच्छी नहीं है, उनको हम मॉडिफाई कर सकते हैं, उन बच्चों को हम ट्रेन कर सकते हैं बेहतर स्ट्रैटेजीज के साथ, ताकि उनको इन फ्यूचर ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम्स ना हो, एडजस्टमेंट प्रॉब्लम्स ना हो, सोशल प्रॉब्लम्स ना हो, और इमोशनली वो ज़्यादा अपने आप को बेहतर तरीके से मैनेज कर सके. So that's about it with this video.